What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to episode number 74 of Wars in the Stars. Today is going to be primarily a Miss Marvel. Well, I shouldn't say primarily, but the main topic is a Miss Marvel episode 4 review. On this episode, we will also touch on the Thor Love and Thunder premiere reactions, Taika's recent comments about his Star Wars film, and what that means for Star Wars films moving forward. And then finally, we're going to touch on the interesting story about one of the original writers from Kenobi revealing that a trilogy of films was originally planned. But before we delve deep into all of those great topics, I want to first ask my pristine co-host how he's doing.
Pristine. Wow. I'm doing fine. I am currently messing with a failed 3D print of a blaster from Star Wars, and I'm very sad that it failed. It failed 13 hours into the print.
That's sad. Out
Yeah,
of how many hours was it supposed to be?
17.
Oh, yeah, that's tough.
We were this close.
We were this close. By the way, if the stream goes out, it's because my internet has been horrible. So if the stream goes out, my bad. We'll get back on it. Hopefully I can fix this issue. But yeah, so I got Alex's Wi-Fi now.
Yeah, we switched places now.
Yeah.
I legit have loved, knock on wood, not having any Wi-Fi problems.
Sucks. It's just a big deterrence.
It's not even that it sucks because it comes up really quick. It happens during the most inconvenient times.
Well, it's also like I don't use the internet like a whole lot compared to other people in our generation. So like when it happens to me, it's even more inconvenient. I'm not on my phone or anything. I don't go on my
Right.
computer a lot. So like even more inconvenient for me. What's up? Doorburger.
Durburger.
How are you guys doing? We're doing really well. Alex, are you feeling some Kenobi fatigue? Like,
What do you mean?
or withdrawals? Withdrawals,
Dude,
I should say.
I literally woke up this morning and had to come to that realization. There's no Kenobi this week.
Kenobi withdrawals. Yeah.
And so I literally I had no motivation to watch this episode of Miss Marvel. But I'll say this before we get into our thoughts. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I mean that's a perfect segue. What did you overall think?
I thought, in terms of quality, in terms of everything, this was a massive step up for the show. Massive, massive, massive step up for Miss Marvel. The show for me has felt pretty low quality, like kind of like not my kind of
Like
show. So
let me clarify. So like low quality from a story standpoint?
yeah, from a story, characters, and whatnot. And anything like they were like an interesting story that I was getting into was the Bruno and Kamala relationship. And funnily enough, it was my favorite storyline, but its absence was good for this episode. Like, I feel really bad. Bruno's my favorite character of the show, but I enjoyed not seeing him this week. And I feel weird saying that. But this episode was really good. It was very lore intensive. It was very action intensive. Not the greatest of humor, but you know, it's okay.
Like Florida?
Yeah.
Overall
Really
for me,
weird.
yeah, it was my favorite episode of the show. I would agree with you. I've been higher on the show than you. For
Much
sure.
Much higher.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as negative as a person as Alex. Alex is a miserable fuck. No, I'm joking.
You should listen to this guy talk about The Last Jedi.
But yeah, so I really enjoyed this episode. You know, from the conversations with certain characters with dialogue that we'll get into, to the supporting cast, to Kamala in this episode, to the change of scenery. I thought it was a breath of fresh air for the show. And it's really what the show needed. there are still some things that I'm struggling with that aren't working for me, and I think we could get that out of the way. The clandestines or whatever we're calling them, clandestines,
Yeah,
Carmen's
very
mother's group, not working for me.
no,
Giving me
very.
Flag Smasher
I
vibes.
was literally gonna say they're giving some flag smasher vibes right now. Like the thing is just like the problem is there's no real explanation why they're bad. It's like, oh, we want to go back to our realm. Okay, so then could you not waited one day for Kamala to get through a wedding? It feels very
Yeah, because you've been
very
there for
weird.
70 years.
Yeah, it's just like you couldn't have waited just like a little bit. Your guys' problems would already be solved if you guys had just waited.
Yeah, it's also like their build up I think is pretty poor.
Yeah,
Like we understand that they're friends with Aisha, but we only see one scene of that, right? We get the flashback, and then it's a lot of dialogue explaining to us that they were friends.
yeah,
But it's like they don't seem to be carrying out Aisha's wishes. It doesn't appear. There is a shroud of mystery that I'm sure will get explained, but so far we are 2/3 of the way through the show, and all we know about them is they were friends with Aisha. They're from another dimension, and they're okay at fighting, and they want the bangle. Like
yeah.
there's no, I don't feel tension with them. I don't
No,
feel
yeah.
build up
I
at
also,
all.
yeah, I also don't feel a lack of danger whenever they're around. Anytime they're around, I feel like Kamala can easily handle them, and she
Right, you don't feel
does.
like they're a threat.
Yeah, I feel like honestly, the big like Kamala and her powers would be more of a threat to herself than these guys.
Right. And again, like I was saying, we're 2/3 of the way through the show, and you kind of want your villain to be established at this point, especially since we're headed into the quote unquote final act, right? This is
Yeah,
where the big fight happens, the big climax of the story,
yeah,
and then with the fall in action and the resolution. But I just you've already had it though, where your characters have beaten this group of people,
yeah, yeah.
so
Twice,
twice. And it's
twice.
also people not with superpowers, mind you. It's people that have sworn to protect, which, by the way, I want to kind of segue into that a little bit. The Red Daggers are fascinating to me.
Yeah,
They're a really fascinating group, right? Because they are essentially not superheroes, right? As we know it, they have no powers, but they protect the outside world from supernatural threats in Pakistan and that region
mm-hmm.
of the globe, which I find really fascinating. Right? It's almost echoes to what like Batman is, a vigilante. They're essentially vigilantes that are protecting the
Yeah.
city that nobody knows about, which I found really fascinating. And those two characters, Kareem and
Oh God, I
what
do
was
not
his?
remember his name. Kareem was my favorite of the
I
two.
just rewatched it. 1 second. But yeah, I found. What do I want to say?
I think he
I
started
want
with
to.
an H.
Wow, Jesus.
I will now look up the episode.
I'm looking for it.
I'm just gonna go to the moment where he, spoiler alert, dies.
Yeah, I can.
Oh shit! Wrong episode. Wrong episode.
I feel so bad for not knowing his name because he was my favorite.
He was really good at
Waleed,
explaining
Waleed, Waleed.
Wally.
So Waleed was, the leader of this Red Dragons group, or Red
Red
Daggers.
Daggers. Come on now. I know. I
Yeah,
know. We're really bad at this, guys. Don't judge us.
yeah. So I really love Waleed's character, obviously, as the mentor in this type of episode. Like this episode, worked a lot for me because I've been rewatching Loki, and that show is still, I've been rewatching it. I'm really gotta say it's actually gotten better on the second rewatch. But like, This episode in its structure reminded me a lot of Loki. Loki has longer episodes, but they're very much episodic in nature, right? They all end on cliffhangers, right? If
Yeah.
you remember back.
Yep.
This episode obviously ends on a cliffhanger here, but what I really loved about this episode, it had its own self-contained story that really worked for me. The first 3 episodes felt just like a big long movie, and episode 3 felt a little rushed to me, a lot of info dumps. This episode did a good job of giving us information, right? We learned a little bit more about the Jinn and the Nor, right? The Nor separates Aisha and the clandestine's dimension. By the way, which we got to have a whole conversation on that because, like, I am super confused on that.
Realm versus dimension versus timeline versus multiverse. Too much.
So this is not. This is not multiverse stuff.
No, this is not multiverse. This is not timeline. It's, I believe, described as another realm, but not
Right.
another dimension. So I think the way that I interpret it is like the 9 realms. Like
So it is like
place,
I was saying, like Asgard.
yeah, like another place in the universe.
Okay,
I guess.
I get that, but unlike like Asgard, like the only way you can travel through the 9 realms is like the Rainbow Bridge.
Yep.
So like similarly with this dimension, the only way they can travel is with this bangle with the powers of Nor.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, and I really want to see this place because I love the world building we do with Asgard and the MCU. I really want to see what this whole place is about, and I wonder if Kamala travels there, if that's her next adventure, right? Because obviously she's been transported back in time. It seems like.
Yeah, it kind of seems like she got like her consciousness got projected backwards in time.
Right.
So very
Oh,
strange.
so we got a Doctor Strange thing going on. When he knocks you out of the body,
Mhm.
she's physically still in the present, but consciously in the past.
Honestly, I think of it as dream walking, but instead of going to another universe, you go to a different time period or a different time.
Okay. I definitely get that for sure. Now I want to get into one of the problems I had with this episode. And it was the first, it felt, to put it in connection with the show we recently had. Like in episode 4 of Kenobi, you know how we had, similarly enough, episode 4 of Kenobi and episode Miss Marvel had the same problem. You know how Roken goes from like, I'm not going to help you to I'm going to help you now because of the story you just told me in like a matter of seconds, right?
Yeah.
I felt very similarly when she gets in that fight with Kareem.
Yes, very just like, oh, you're here to fight me. Okay, let's be friends now.
It was like I could understand if like he had like just a simple few lines of dialogue saying, "Oh, you're not a clandestine. You don't know anything about them really. You're Kamala Khan. How do you know Aisha?" And then he just tries to explain like he's the good guy, but like his line is like, doesn't he say like, "I have to take you away or something. I have to save you or whatever." And the guy's like, "Yeah, I've always wanted to say that." And then Kamala's like, "Yeah, let me follow you now. You're not like."
I also just like
It was very weird.
What's weird though is this whole episode, I was more weary of Kareem and whatnot than the clandestines or whatever.
Clandestine, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why do you say that? Just
because like just this weird eerie sense, like when Kareem brings her to his friends, I was like, oh my goodness, she's going to get like kidnapped or something.
Okay.
And then that's gonna bring Grandma Khan into the fold for one more foolish adventure.
Yeah, so I gotta ask, where do you think this is going?
Problem is like I don't know. I don't know where this goes next. But and I think excuse me. I think with that, I don't think that's necessarily a problem at all. However, with a massive however to this, this show's struggling to hook me. I feel very bored of the show in a sense. And I think the big thing to think about, and I think that this problem is very prevalent with one thing that is wrong with the show, Drew. And what do you think my problem with it is?
I have no idea, if I'm being honest.
It's too long. There's too much time on these episodes.
I wouldn't
feel
say that for this one. I feel like this was by far the best paced
yes,
episode.
sure, but it's just like I feel like with the show, I feel like honestly, hear me out. I feel like this would have worked better as a movie.
Yeah, because
Because
I think you could make the compelling case that there is a lot of expository dialogue. There's a
yeah,
lot of expository dialogue in the
there's a
show. Now, a
lot.
lot of it is
Yeah,
necessary, but a lot of it is like if you were to make this a film, like the events of episode 1 and 2, you could have feasibly done in an act, right? Not in an
yeah,
hour and a half.
yeah.
So I can agree with that. So like your whole argument is like Kamala's story didn't need to be
Didn't
in
need
a
to be like
a
6 hour show. Yeah,
4.5 hour form. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And again, my thing is just like it's like you said, you could easily have condensed episodes 1 and 2 into 30 minutes or 30, 45 minutes. And then the last two episodes into another 30, 45 minutes. And then the next two episodes to that. My problem with this show is it already was struggling with being released with Kenobi at the same time. But now that it's by itself, I think it's struggling for me personally to like captivate me on the story. I feel like this is the first show where I'm just like I'm not very into this show just because it's Marvel. I feel very again I just feel very bored of the show. Like again, my favorite character of the show, Bruno, is just gone. Like where'd he go? My thing with this is just like we have to remember she has to go back to New Jersey, and then apparently in episode 6 or whatever, she won't have hard light anymore, or we're gonna see a new form of her power. So
Wait. Why are you saying that?
because they said that this would not be her final form in the show, and so I would feel that would be a very rushed thing to already change her powers after you already changed them to something else, whether it be her comic powers or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely think the Inhuman ship has passed. I don't.
Yeah, I
I,
unfortunately agree. I think honestly, what a cooler route might be if they're not going to go with Inhumans, is make the Jinn the new Inhumans.
well, I mean, I won't talk about leaks and stuff, but like I don't. That's not the route they're going. Um, I don't think they're gonna go the route that Kamala's an Inhuman still, but I do like it for the context of this story. I know the comic reader like you are, you and the you like her story a lot in the Avengers game, right? So like I know a lot of people appreciate that, but like for me in the context of this story, how it's so Pakistani culturally and family and societally focused,
Yeah,
I really like how they're incorporated that, their
yeah,
lore, their mythos into the
yeah,
the MCU. And so like it works in the context of this show for me, absolutely. And also like the Inhuman problem, like the Inhumans are like they suck. So like
yeah. Knock off X-Men.
not just that, like if you're gonna introduce the X-Men and have the Inhumans, that's a lot.
Yeah,
So I totally get that, but
and yeah. It's just again for me. There's just and my thing with the show is the story's okay. Like it's nothing to hit home about. It's nothing to say, oh, this sucks. This is awful.
right.
It's just like I'm not the demographic for the show. And so it's hard to want to watch the show. It's like I said, I woke up more excited for Kenobi and it's not even running anymore. And so it's just like I don't know. I just feel like I would have preferred to see this in oh god, you might hate me for saying this, in a Disney Plus release movie. Because I'm
I
struggling
could see
with
that.
what I'm struggling with wanting to watch this every single week.
I would say I'm struggling to watch it, but like I would say like in comparison to the other even Marvel Disney Plus shows, even What If,
Yeah.
um, I
I
would
was intrigued to watch that every week
the
though.
first thing I would do when I woke up. Nah, I wasn't waking up for 3 in the morning for all these projects. But the first thing I would do when I woke up is would watch these shows.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel is the outlier to that. Now I
Yeah.
enjoy the show more than you, but like I don't find the need to. It's not captivating me. It's not cultivating me. It's not dominating the pop culture discussion as
Yeah.
even the subpar Marvel shows like I would say Hawkeye and some people's opinion Falcon and the Winter Soldier did. So like and even the Book of Boba Fett on the Star Wars side. So like and the show just I feel bad because I like a lot of this cast. I
Yes,
like
very.
Iman Vellani.
I think
Like
it's
they're
I
very
yeah,
talented.
I think it's my favorite cast of any MCU show.
Yeah,
Like
I mean
like
they're
they bounce off of each other well. Amon is just amazing. Just all of them are just they just mesh so well together. It feels natural, but the story is just so bland. Again, we have two main villains of the show of the clandestines and then the DODC. And again, I feel like wow, the big government to this teenager show or big villain is the government and some people who could be or could not be related to her. I just feel like with people like Miss Marvel, like my thing with the show is this is I get it. It's not targeted towards our demographic. But let's take Star Wars Rebels, Drew. It's a kid centered show, but it's my favorite Star Wars show. And do you know why? It's because the story's good. Doesn't matter about the animation. I know you disagree, maybe not wholeheartedly with me about the story being amazing, but the reason why these shows like Clone Wars and Rebels shows that are yes they are called kid shows whether we like to admit it or not. They are by all means kid shows. They're dark kid shows, but they're kid shows nonetheless. The reason why they work is the cast and the crew and all of it's natural. It feels real. When I watch Miss Marvel, I say to myself, "Wow, I would rather watch Kenobi because it feels real. It feels like there's a drive there." And I just feel like Miss Marvel is unfortunately lacking on it.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I mean, this past weekend I went and watched Lightyear,
Yeah.
right? I went and watched a Pixar film. And while I don't think Lightyear is the best Pixar film out there, it still had I
Oh no. Oh no. Drew. Oh, there you
okay, I'm
are.
good.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it had a like Lightyear had a cap. It's gonna go out. I already know it. About
Just keep
one.
going. Just go. Just go. Just speak quick. Speak quick.
It had a captivated enough story.
Yeah.
It was the characters were really good. I thought they were solid. It's not great, but it's like it was captivated enough. Like Miss Marvel, I feel the same way about it. Like
Mhm.
it's fine. It's good. Like, but
Yeah.
it's not something like you going out first weekend to see if it was a movie, and it's not the
Yeah.
first thing you would watch on television. I mean, we think about all the shows we have out now. Like, we don't talk about it. We probably should, but The Boys. I've been really enjoying The Boys. I've gone back on that.
Yeah.
Um, like Stranger Things. I mean, I don't love Stranger Things, but like that's something that's being more talked about as Volume 2 gets ready to release in 2 days.
Yeah.
But like, um, yeah, it's struggling to cultivate a larger audience as we see through the TV or through the numbers and stuff, the viewership numbers. But there's a couple other things I want to touch on. I really think that Kamala's mom and her grandmother, that scene was fantastic. Really
Yeah.
well acted, and
Yeah.
added a lot of context into why Muniba is the type of mother she is, the overprotective barren mother, because she lacked that. And I really like that because I could kind of relate it to my own personal life. I have a family member who, or actually my dad, never grew up with a father. So, like, he's always been, I consider him my best friend. He's the best person on the planet. And he's the dad that he always wanted. So, I really loved that scene. This show really nails the family dynamic, and it's something that
Yeah.
really hits with you. And I'm really curious. I mean, now, I mean, we could kind of talk about where we think episode 5 goes. I think it goes kind of in the direction that WandaVision, what was it, episode 8 went, right? Kind of like a side piece
Yeah.
mission that gives us a little more context to Aisha. And I think Aisha is going to be that guide and mentor figure that we see that helps to alleviate the stress that Kamala has. It helps her learn more about the clandestines. And again, like I would say, and like the clandestines remind me a lot of like the flag
Flag
smashers.
smashers. It's just
Just
just boring.
a,
Boring with very low motivation.
like a large group of people that like plot like narratively, like just on bulletin board. They're a pretty interesting concept, right? Uh,
Yeah.
interdimensional beings or from another realm, right? That they
Yeah.
have these powers, but they can't access their powers. They need to go back. But we learned in this episode they want to go back because they want to take over our realm, which we still have no reason why. Which we will get a reason why, I assume.
Oh.
Uh, but I'm losing my train of thought. But I was gonna say like the Flag Smasher's similar, right? They want to
Yeah.
help protect people, right? With the I don't even remember what it was called, but the orphanage or whatever that were taken.
The path of the MCU.
Right, the path of the MCU. I like that. Try to help people post the blip. Really
Mhm.
interesting concept. Was not executed well at all.
Yeah. Because
Uh,
it made it seem like, oh yeah, they're doing it for the right reason. They're just doing the wrong thing. But it's just like, but they weren't doing the right thing because they were murdering people and being terrorists. And so it made it hard to be like, oh yeah, I sympathize with Carly when she died. Be like, no, you fucking deserved it.
and
Like,
unlike
sorry.
and unlike like the rebellion in Star Wars, we know the rebellion is going up against the Empire. They
Yeah.
were fighting Captain America and Bucky. At this
Yeah.
point, Bucky now no longer the Winter Soldier.
Hmm.
Uh, so very odd, very odd there. We didn't see him taking down a big governmental force. It was very odd with that story choice. I feel the same way with the clandestines. Like they're going after a girl over a bangle.
Yeah.
And also we have the problem now. They've been beaten. Like they've
Yeah.
multiple of them
You.
have been killed by
Yeah.
non-power using
And yeah, that's
people.
the other thing is you can't establish them as a dominant villain if you beat them twice. Because if anything, it just makes them look stupid.
I really think how this is going to end is Kamala um, is able to bring them back essentially, like morally. Like Aisha's going to give up some words of wisdom, and she's able to bring them back. And there's also Carmen, right?
Yeah.
Who was Danako with the clandestines. He is still in the Department of Damage Control. Uh,
Yeah.
or maybe not, or maybe he escapes. Probably escapes. Um,
Who
but like
honestly knows?
I think he'll play a role, but I really think this episode will be almost like a WandaVision episode 8. We learn more about the past, Aisha, those lessons that Aisha, because we've been building towards Aisha, we've been learning a lot about her. These lessons from Aisha to Kamala will help Kamala not fight, but convince Carmen's mother and the clandestines to um, essentially go with what Aisha's original wishes were
Yeah.
and not destroy the entire realm that Kamala inhabits. So that's where I think it's going. I would give this episode an 8.5 if I'm being honest. I think it
Yeah.
had some
It
really
was
good fight.
really good like story stuff. Good choreography with the fights. The only thing that I didn't like is the humor.
So I got to ask you about that before we move on. Like, what about it? Because I felt like it was just
It felt
funny.
very. Yo, you might hate me for saying this. It felt very knockoff Spider-Man humor. Like it felt like they're trying to be quippy like Spider-Man. And I was just like, every time she would make some quippy joke, I would just be like, I would do the puking emoji face. Just like, what? Don't say that.
Some of it I chuckled. It was good.
Yeah,
It was
some of it
fine. I
was,
don't
but
think it was like the
no,
off the charts
it wasn't like,
bad or off the
it
charts
wasn't
good.
like, oh my goodness, I need a refund for my time for listening to this. But it was, some of it was just like, okay, wow, haha. So it's just not great humor for me. Again, targeted at a younger audience, so I try to keep that in mind when looking at the show. But yeah, I think I was talking with this, and I think before we move on to our next thing, I think Miss Marvel for me is always gonna stay as a 50% show.
What do you mean?
Like a
Like you're gonna give
rating.
this?
I give it a 5 out of 10, or like a 2.5 out of 5.
Wait, but you've given every episode higher than a 5.
But I think when I look back at it, like I think my big thing is this. When I look at stuff like this, okay, I'm gonna use an example here because you brought it up earlier. Okay, it's all connected.
Yes.
Okay, Marvel's Avengers. Yesterday, they released their new hero, the Mighty Thor, right? And as a part of it, her kit was the same as basically the normal Thor, right? And I feel the same way that I feel about Miss Marvel that I feel about that. A lot of this, like, it's good, but not great. And when I look at this show, when I go back, because of course I rate the episodes pretty high. I try to be as positive about the episodes as I can try to be. Ultimately, what comes back is personal opinion. And when I would tell you this, I would rather watch The Bad Batch than I'd watch this show. And you know how I feel about The Bad Batch. Not great. And it's just, again, I think this is honestly the biggest example of not the target audience. So I'm gonna struggle to enjoy it because it's not made for me. And I'm okay with that. Not everything's a win, not everything's a loss.
Yeah, I get that. For sure. I mean, it's fine for me. It's good. I definitely would not say it's a 5 out of 10. Uh,
Maybe I'll
would
be
say
nice. I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
okay. So right where the Bad Batch is for you.
No, the Bad Batch got like a 6.5.
Okay. So like Miss Marvel for me would be a 7.2. Like I mean, right now, I think it's well done. It's well made. It's really
Yeah,
good quality of a show. It's got good characters.
and honestly,
I
some of the qualities better than Kenobi's.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I agree with that. But like, um, and I've rated, like Toy Story, like some of the Toy Stories I give 10 out of 10. So it's just some story beats I'm not a huge fan of, and like, yeah, the villains are just pretty lackluster to me. The Department of Damage Control, like generic bad cop. Like the clandestines, like I was saying earlier, just not enough development. We've learned everything through info dumps. We haven't like established them on screen. Both times have been on screen. Uh, in both episodes. I mean, they beat the Department of Damage Control, but that's just beating bad generic cops. So like, I wish there was a little bit more work done with them. I mean, I think they get redeemed. That's the type of story we're dealing with here. I think definitely, I don't think there's not a lot of murking in this show. It's not a lot of
Yeah,
killing. We did see 2 knives through people, so or 3.
yeah. 4.
So
Well, no. Well, the one guy got 2 knives in the chest.
right, Waleed,
No, the clandestine.
and then the clandestine. Well, Waleed got stabbed.
Oh, so yeah, 3 or 4.
Yeah, so I mean, I just don't think that's the type of story, but they just kill everyone. That's not how that's gonna happen. So
No, yeah, yeah,
definitely
agree.
think the clandestines get redeemed. But yeah, I'm gonna give this episode 8.5 out of 10. The red daggers were really compelling to be really interested. Um, the conversations, the dialogue, the emotion behind this episode was really good, and I thought the chase itself and the fights were really well done. Really good episode. The
Yeah,
only problem, like I said, was Kareem's sudden change. I didn't feel
yeah,
organic to me, and
yeah.
I think the first half of the episode was fairly weak.
Yeah, okay. I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Um, Again, I think my big thing is this, and I want to preface
So
this by saying
this is worse than last week to you.
no, because I think I'm looking back, I think I'd rate every single episode of the show a 7.5.
Okay.
I think my thing with this show is it's good, it's not great. Because when I think of rating a show, obviously 1 to 5 is bad. The
Right.
further, of course, you get down, you're really bad. 6 is good, or 6 is okay. Like there's good parts, but it's overall not the greatest. 7 is good. It's not great. 8 is great. 9 is amazing. 10 is perfect. And my thing with Ms. Marvel is if a show is consistently one score, and if that one score is not a 9 or an 8.5 or above, then I'm gonna consider your show not good. That's how I look at media. If your show is consistently average, you're gonna get an average score.
So you would say Miss Marvel is average.
I would say Miss Marvel is 5 out of 10. It's 50% great. And it's 50% not good.
You just said 6.5. You going back to the 5?
No, I give every episode a 7.5, and 75% is average. So it's gonna get an average rating, and for me, an average is a 5 out of 10. 50% good, 50% not good. Bad Batch level right there.
I don't understand your scoring system.
This
You
show
just
is a
gave it
5
a
out.
seven
This
and a
show,
half out of 10, though, every episode.
I'd give
So
it
that
at
means you have a
least
7.5 out of 10. How were we downgraded 2.5 points? Now it's
because
bad.
it's
Now it's
consistent.
bad. Now you got the bad
Because
rated.
because it's consistently average. That's not good. That means it doesn't reach higher. My thing, like,
So then it goes to bad.
yes, because it never reaches past the 7.5. Again, when I look at it from an episode by episode basis, 7.5 again, average, 75%, not bad. But if it can never reach past that, that means it's not good. And when I think of an average show, I'd say the Book of Boba Fett is the epitome of average, like in an average sense of, like when I look at the show, I'd say yeah, I'd give it a 7.5 overall for the show. Like there's more high moments. It reaches up higher than 7.5 on average, but
Okay.
it's got its moments where it's just like, oh,
Yeah, I
oh,
mean, like, I get make it an adjusted score. Like, my
yeah,
adjusted score for, like, the Book of Boba Fett, because I posted on our TikTok finally, was like an 8.25. I had it at an 8.5 when I added all my
yeah.
scores up and divided it. But, like, an adjustment of 2.5 points seems kind of drastic to me for
Mm-hmm.
Miss Marvel.
It's my only show where I'm that drastic with it,
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
and I feel very bad about it because again, I love Kamala Khan in the comics, but
Uh,
I think if you want to give a jarring representation of how we feel about the show, we are done talking about the show at 40 minutes in. We would have only been through the halfway point of a Kenobi episode right now.
right, but just that, but that we can't judge shows like that.
I
We can't
can,
judge. We can't
I
judge show.
can,
No,
Ju-
just
because
because there's not a lot to talk about doesn't mean something's not
but the
good.
problem is in this episode specifically, there is a lot to talk about. It is a big plot centered episode. But my thing with this is it's just like it's overall enjoyment. Like we enjoyed Kenobi more, so we're gonna talk about it more. We don't enjoy Miss Marvel as much, so we don't talk about it as much. Just kind of the way it is, you know.
I understand why you're comparing it to Kenobi since they released simultaneously.
Well,
Which
no.
again,
I could compare it to the Book of Boba Fett, the Bad Batch, the Mandalorian.
so you would say this is your least favorite? Disney Plus
Yeah.
property
I would say probably this is my least favorite Disney Plus show
out of everything.
out of everything. But again, to give it its credit, it's not a bad show. It's just my least favorite.
Okay. All right. That was a
Like
really good discussion.
yeah, it was good. It was good. Unfortunately,
So,
I had to mute because my friend sent me a Snapchat and it was a video, so I knew I had to watch it.
All right. So, you got anything else?
No. Miss
So
Marvel,
you're
man.
a 7.5. I'm
I'm
an
at
8.5.
I'm at a 7.5 adjusted to a 5 out of 5 or a 5 out of 10 show.
I mean, right now I got this episode at an 8.5. That's I don't math true. 8.5 plus 7.5. That's 16 plus 15, 31 divided by 4. It's about a 7.75.
Jeez, it's generous.
I don't think so. I think that's fair. So yeah, that's still like my lowest Disney Plus show rated.
Yeah.
Maybe besides the Bad Batch. I mean, but we didn't really rate it like that, so I don't know. So yeah, let's now move into our second main topic. This one is going to be about the reactions to Thor: Love and Thunder. The premiere was, I want to say, last Thursday. So let's take a little look at these. We're gonna get a lot of the same thing here when we look at these. I just want to warn you. Brandon Davis of comicbook.com says that Thor: Love and Thunder is absolutely electrifying. My favorite Thor movie of the four. Taika Waititi through and through. It's mature. The soundtrack rocks. Great surprises. A lot of fun. Feels like the best of MCU Phase 1 and 4 in one entry. I like that. Natalie Portman and Gore Bale are fantastic. Bale could have had more screen time. A lot of Bale stuff here, right? Christina Acuna of Insider says that Bale's phenomenally menacing. Gore the God Butcher is one of the creepiest Marvel villains we've ever seen. Gave me some Dark Knight Ledger Joker vibes at times. Oof. It's the best entry behind No Way Home and Shang-Chi.
Oh, good.
Okay. Some people are saying I like this one from Caitlin Booth of Bleeding Cool. She says, so Thor: Love and Thunder, I have thoughts and feelings, of a lot of which are spoilers. Some of them I'm not happy about. What I can't talk about is something that the thing that made Thor Ragnarok such a breath of fresh air is how different it was from other movies. I believe she goes on to say in this thread that this film is too similar to Ragnarok, which is fair.
Yeah.
One of the favorite MCU films, beating heart of this film is Thor and Jane Foster. It might be my second favorite MCU romance because of how genuine it was and the actors deliver their best performance as heroes. And Bale, Gore arrives at the top tier MCU villain, possibly the best, whose arc packs an emotional wallop in the climax. It's fiendish and terrifying, yet incredibly sympathetic. Great antagonist. Very much the Taika movie. Yeah, so a lot of, and then I want to go to the Illuminati's. They're the last one. They say that Thor: Love and Thunder is everything great about comic book movie. It's truly hilarious, insanity, heart-wrenching tragedy, and bombastic action. Visually stunning and one of the best MCU soundtracks. The entire cast is fantastic, but Bale and Natalie Portman are phenomenal. So, Alex, from that, we got a lot about Natalie Portman, a lot about Bale's performance. What are your thoughts on these reactions? Overwhelmingly positive, it looks like. So, what are you thinking here?
Dude, now I just want to see the movie. That is it. I literally, like, every time I hear a review about the movie from people who got to see it, it's always positive. I have yet to hear a negative review. And so I'm just like, I want to see it now. Like, give it to me now. Right now. Like, the movie's clearly done. Just show me the movie now. Why do I have to wait longer? Why? Why do I have to wait longer, Marvel? Why? Sorry. got a little aggressive there. I get
Um,
aggressive when I get very passionate.
yeah, so like I am happy that these opinions are overwhelmingly positive
Yeah.
from these critics and
But wait, Drew, you didn't read the best review. Thor: Love and Thunder is the best MCU movie since Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
yeah, the joke, the joke. Yeah, we could talk about that too. Like I like looking at out of the theater reactions and stuff, but like my only problem with it is like they're always positive. They're always like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. This MCU movie is fantastic. Now, while in some cases I don't doubt it. Like in the
Yeah.
case of No Way Home, like that movie, banner, right?
Yeah.
Like the one movie I'll say that I went into it expecting more was like, weirdly enough, it was Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those films like Venom Let There Be Carnage is fun. It's a horrible movie. Like it's a horrible film. Like put together. It's fun.
Yeah.
Like you have a great time. There's a great hour and a half. It's like an awfully put together film.
Mm.
Like, and I don't worry about something like that with Thor, but like my thing is like when you say something like it's better than Ragnarok,
It's a
you're
high
put
bar. It's a high
you're putting your
bar.
chest out there. Like you're putting your chest out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't doubt that this is. I mean, come on, it's pretty easy to beat Dark World in the first Thor film.
Yeah.
So like, I wouldn't doubt it's going to be at least the second best entry in the Thor franchise.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sorry to cut you off, but please look at the thumbnail I just made for.
I like that. I like that.
Yes, I take very much pride in making our thumbnails. On time, no, but making them, yes.
I do have to ask you. This is a discussion we actually had last night. I said that the best two actors in this film are Bale and Portman. And you wholeheartedly disagreed. You almost
No,
basically
no, no,
said,
no, 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 no. Don't pull the wholeheartedly. I don't wholeheartedly think that Natalie Portman's a bad actor. I just don't think she's the best, one of the best in this movie.
You kind of also insinuated that Hemsworth might be a better actor than Christian Bale.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I would never, never put that out in the world.
So, like, to me, it came as no surprise that Natalie Portman and Christian Bale were the standout performances because I think when they're both, especially in Natalie Portman's case, because she usually never gets good material, is a very high quality actress. Like
Yeah.
she's very high quality. She's talented, fantastic. And this movie, when they say very much Taika in nature, I gotta ask you because we really haven't had it. And we'll discuss more about Taika in a Star Wars film in a second. But I haven't asked you. What do you? Does that worry you that this is very much a Taika film?
A little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. I think when I think of when they say it's a Taika in nature film, I really think about does that mean the comedy might take a little bit of the forefront of this in story? Or villain building or hero building or something of the sorts. And so that's just kind of where I'm at. I'm not worried that it's got the Taika Waititi spin on it. Obviously, it was always going to, but I'm very much hopeful, and I don't think it is, that it will be super Taika in nature.
I think Taika has really good sensibilities.
Yeah.
When it comes to directing and it comes to writing. Sometimes like he like pushes the edge of comedy. Like he pushes the boundary. I think Ragnarok, he doesn't push the boundary. Like I'm never like with Ragnarok, okay. Really?
Yeah.
Like cuz he does a really good job with that film, obviously. The Loki scene, right? In the elevator with Thor. Right? Really good scene, really good dialogue, one of the better scenes in that film. and then he goes to a comedic gag where they play "Get Help" right away. Like he has
Yeah.
those really good sensibilities where he knows how to blend something that's very important, very plot driven, very character driven, and then
Yeah.
go into a comedic moment.
Yeah.
And then I think he's going to even excel more with that in the story. I know some things about this film, but when they talk about a this film being a tragedy, and how there's a lot of heart with gore and um, Jane Foster's character, Mighty Thor. All I'm gonna say is that they're very fascinated stories, and I think it comes as no surprise to me, as talented as those two actors are, and also with the story that they were given, that they're going to be standouts because they have a very compelling and complex arc. I will say, when I read these reviews, though, I worry about Thor's arc in this film.
Yeah.
Is he going to be overshadowed? Because a big problem to me would be is like if I am more emotionally engaged with Jane and Gore's arc, and even if Thor's arc is good in this film, I'm gonna be like, well, he's the third most important arc. That's kind of a problem for it being his film, right? Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, but
So I want to hear what you think.
I say to that, it's also Jane's movie, and Jane is also Thor. And so I would be okay if Thor didn't take, say, a back seat, but he wasn't the person of the movie. I wouldn't mind it at all.
But to me, the difference with, for example, Steve and Sam's Captain Americas, right? Steve is gone as Cap, right? So that's
Yeah.
why we focus more now on Sam's story. With Thor, he's still in the movie. So like I would have a problem if he, in your words, took a back seat.
Well, no, I'm not saying that he take like I don't want him to take a back seat. I wouldn't be upset if he took a little bit of one, where he wasn't the shining gem of the movie, but someone else was, like Jane or Gore.
Well, I mean, I would somewhat because, like, to me, the two vocal points of his three movies are Loki.
Yeah, well, Loki's dead. Dad.
True, but like, he wasn't even the best character in the first Thor and the second one. You could make an argument the third one, Loki was better.
Yeah.
So, like, I would have a problem if he's not the best character. Like, that's been a big problem with his characters. He hasn't been the best character in really any film.
But he's always been good.
He's
So-
been good, especially post Age of Ultron. He's been really good at everything, I would say. You know, Endgame, it's Fat Thor, but like his story's good. But yeah, I mean, these reactions, no surprise. Saying it's the third or fourth best in Phase 4 would make sense to me. I think there's a very clear top three there, right? No Way Home for me, Multiverse of Madness, and then Shang-Chi, and then there's a gap, obviously, between Eternals and Black Widow. So it fit into the 3 or 4 spot. If it can top something like Multiverse of Madness or Shang-Chi, it's going to be difficult because I think those are two great movies. But as long as this is a good adventure, I'm really curious if it's better than Ragnarok. Maybe we're going to rewatch Ragnarok here soon. So, yeah, that's going to be a tough film to beat because I have it in my top 6 or 7. So
Yeah, it's up. It is up there.
So yeah, you got any other thoughts?
No, not at all.
Okay, so now let's move into our third topic, and this is going to discuss Taika Waititi's comments on his latest, or his only latest, whatever, Star Wars film. Taika says in questions about his project, we're not shooting this year. It says we're not this year. Waititi said when asked if he was going to shoot the project soon. He explained, I'm going to be in New Zealand from August to the end of the year. And during that time, I'll still be writing. I'm still trying to figure out what the story is. And obviously, Kathleen Kennedy, around the time of Star Wars Celebration, said that his film would be next, and that they're targeting a late 2023 release, a December 2023 release. If you're still working on the film until the end of the year, it's a pretty quick turnaround until they want to start shooting if they want to get this off in 2023. Yes, I don't think they're going to.
I don't think they're going to, but I gotta say, I've been surprised. I mean, lately by them, they were showing footage of Ahsoka, and they had only just begun filming The Mandalorian and whatnot. And so, sorry, I just knocked all the stuff about that piss ass blaster that failed off my desk. I don't know, man. I weirdly think it's possible. I weirdly think it's possible, and I don't know why. Cause think, what, you take 6 months of filming, right? You write until the end of the year, 6 months of filming, few months of editing. You gotta think. It's not too far fetched to think that it could be I'm talking very late December 2023 release. I mean,
That's such a quick turnaround, Alex.
it is, but think they have been. What I'm predicting is, what if they have a December 29th release movie? Because December 29th next year takes place on a Friday.
I mean, Alex, we gotta think about this. So, if it takes, oh my god, so just hypothetically, like 6 months, right? This includes reshoots. This includes all that.
But I'm gonna also say this beforehand. Oh no, you say. I want you to talk.
That's also saying that, like, right, like this is probably Taika's first draft too. It seems he's not even done writing. He doesn't even know his story. This is first draft. This ain't even second final draft.
Let's say he starts filming middle of January. That's still from now. It's still just around 5 months to write. But here's the thing: is like, in Taika we trust, man. I trust he could write a good film in 5 months.
I don't want to rush him.
I don't either, but I think he's that good.
I do too, but like my thing is like Kathleen Kennedy had these very weird comments like, yeah, we're going to have a film in late 2023. Well, it's not Rogue Squadron. You literally said that even yourself, basically. Like, that movie, it's kind of been shelved. By shelved, that means it's never going to happen. That's what that code word is at Lucasfilm.
Not gonna happen.
And now Taika, like, I feel like I'm getting two different messages here. Like, if we wanted this to be a late 2023 film, we would start getting geared up here. Like, Alex, if your idea of them shooting in mid-January, right? Okay. If he finishes by the end of the year, you're going to do what? Casting calls in 2 weeks?
Sure. I think though you could easily put together. Sorry, I'm making the thumbnail for this topic. It's so bad. I think honestly you could do it while you're writing. I think you could. It'd be muddy.
What if there's a major character that you pull out in the writing process?
Oh well, you better get a new role.
There's just no way.
Again, I think what's
no
important.
Chance.
I think what's important to know, bro. I think it could happen. I think it could happen.
There's no chance. Just not gonna happen. Taika's gonna say hell no.
No, I don't know, man. I think of any director. I think there's only a few directors who I would think would be able to pull off.
You understand though? I understand you think Taika can pull it off, but do you understand he's like in a really bad position if he has to get this film out within a year and a half, and he doesn't even have a story yet. He doesn't even know where it wants to go.
Hey man, anything's possible.
I mean, I agree, but like I trust Taika. But let's now discuss the real reality of this situation. This film's not coming out in 2023. Okay,
no,
we're not gonna have a Star Wars film in 2023, which is disappointing because there is something very special about a Star Wars film. Something extremely like it's a moment. It is Christmas. It is Thanksgiving. Like I mean, think about it, December around Christmas. It was an event. I will never forget. It was an event. People talked about people were home for college. I'll be home from college during that time, right? That December time. It's Christmas, family, Star Wars. Like, it's perfect. It's perfect. And we haven't had it for, it's now going to be going on 4+ years.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they could. I don't know, because I'm in that same camp with you. I don't want to rush them. If you can make it great, make it great. Oh God, that's awful. I'm gonna send you the thumbnail so you can see my masterpiece I've put together.
Okay. But
But yeah, I think personally for me, don't rush it if you don't have to. I mean, I would rather, because I know I know Taika is more than capable of probably making the best Star Wars movie. So don't rush the man.
yeah, I 100% agree.
Let him see his vision out. Although I think if they were like, "Hey, yo, man, we want to release this by the end of next year," I think Taika could do it.
I think it would be super difficult to do, man. I think it would be rushed. I mean, we look at it. They had at least a plan. Remember, some of these films during the 2015 to 2019 time were supposed to come out in May.
Yeah.
Remember, they would push it back to December?
Yeah.
It's because they had, this. If they were to do this film in December, what is it, December 29th, you said?
Yeah. That would be the last Friday of next year.
December 29th of 2023. And if they were to start filming, I mean, the earliest they could start filming is March, let's just say.
Yeah.
Everything would have to go, like, literally everything would have to go perfect. Ideally.
But, yeah. I think, I think what's crazy is just, like, if you remember, if you've listened to some of the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness cast talking, a lot of them only shot their stuff at the beginning of this year. That's a quick turnaround to have, like, film the movie and reshoots right at the beginning of the year.
Well,
And
a lot of
so-
those, that was still 5 months out. A
Yeah.
lot of that was reshoots.
Yeah, but again, even then, that's still that's very close. No Way Home was not finished when released. They only have now come on afterwards to fix up VFX, and then they're re-releasing the movie. So I think
That's fair.
I think
But again,
with the-
remember, those things were planned, like, out. They would have to do all this quick.
Yeah.
So, like, and again, when you're producing a movie, there's always going to be something that happens in either post-production and production that delays the film. Recently, obviously, like in the past 2 years, there's a pandemic. It could be a writing issue. It could be a actor issue, an actor, like, scheduling conflicts, like, et cetera, et cetera. It's very hard to create a film. And then when you're on a time constraint like this that is not planned, it just would be rushed. I don't want them to rush this. I do, however, was fine with the break. I do, however, believe that the break from Star Wars films was fine.
Yeah.
But if Taika's film doesn't happen 2023, it can't happen in 24 unless they do it in May. But do they want to presumably go up against a Marvel film around that time that would be out in that time area? No.
maybe
Well,
there is no Marvel film around that time.
nothing announced.
Yeah, nothing announced right now, but
there's always a film in May or late April, so that's their time. So I don't want them going near that because, as we saw with Solo, they got scorched. I don't. I think most likely would be 2025, December of 25, because Avatar 3 comes out 24, and it's supposed to be Star Wars, Avatar, or Star Wars, Avatar, Star Wars, Avatar, Star Wars. So, yeah, I see it coming out in 2025, and that's a very Lucasfilm thing to do, saying we're taking a break and then not release a movie for 6 years. So,
yeah. But I also then I think we said it in private. I think I honestly prefer them on Disney Plus than in the theater. So I know there's always going to be the experience, there's going to be that hype, but from a story standpoint, it just feels better on Disney Plus. It feels like they can do more on Disney Plus. It feels like the borders are open on Disney Plus versus the movie. They're very constrained. Time, money, or not money, but like expectation and whatnot. It's a lot less.
That's fair. That's totally fair. But yeah, I don't think this movie's gonna come out in 2023. It wasn't supposed to originally. That it was. Who knows? But in Taika we trust, right?
And,
Taika we trust with this film.
and Taika, and yes, I'm gonna say it. And Kathleen Kennedy, we trust. Now, some of our trusts,
That's a tough one.
it is, but hey, she's done. She is. I'm gonna say it this. I think Star Wars is just like the WWE of the professional wrestling scene. They always do their best when their backs are against the wall. So
That's also not true, but I
no,
totally disagree
I
with
would
that.
say, because I can tell you right now, those sequels they felt reactionary, but I can definitely tell you they didn't. I don't think they were. I don't think a lot of those things were as reactionary as you think. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, so let's now move into our third and final topic. Obi-Wan Kenobi was originally planned to be a movie trilogy. Now, this comes to us from the direct and a interview they did with one of the original writers, Stuart Beatty. He says, right, so not at all. I wrote the film that they based the show on. So yeah, I spent like a year and a half working on it, and then when the decision was made not to make any more spin-offs, after Solo came out, I left the projects. Joby Harold came on, took my scripts, and turned it from 2 hours into 6. It's not 6, but it's, you know what he means.
Yeah.
So I did not work with them at all. Just got credit for episodes, as it says up here, 1, 2, 3, and 6. He says that there was 3 stories. There was 3 different evolutions he saw to the character to go from Obi-Wan to Ben. And the first one was the first movie, which was the show, Surrender to the Will of the Force. Transport your will, surrender your will, leave the kid alone. The second movie, and this is really interesting, this is where our majority of our discussion will be, is the second movie was think about where Kenobi ends up. And one of the most powerful and probably the most powerful moment in all of Obi-Wan's story is the moment where he sacrifices himself in A New Hope. Great moment, makes you cry. But if you stop and think about it, it's a pretty sudden thing to just kind of go be fighting a guy to see Luke and go, I'm going to die. That to me, that required forethought. That required pre-acceptance that this was going to happen. He then talks about in his second film, Qui-Gon was going to say, there's going to become a moment where you're going to have to sacrifice yourself. Obi-Wan's going to deny it. And then we're going to get to a point where Obi-Wan accepts that he's going to die and that he's going to die willingly at a crucial moment. And you will know that moment when that moment presents himself. So when he comes to a New Hope, he understands that. And then Joby Harold's like, this was definitely happening. Ewan was on board. And then Solo flopped, as he says here. And then he says, no, I only wrote the first one because they hadn't hired me to do the others yet because I was busy working on the first one. So, thoughts? Lot to unpack.
What could have been? What could have been? That's how I feel. It's wow.
Do you think you would have liked this better?
Maybe. But we'll never know.
So, when I first told you about this, the first thing you assumed was, oh, the first season was a trilogy of films. And then when I told you, no, the first season was just the first film.
It's a lot.
We had the same reaction. We were like, well, where does the story go? Right? We've had this discussion about like where a hypothetical Kenobi season 2 could go. You don't want it, right? You're done with.
We're season 2.
Yeah, you don't want a
No.
Kenobi season 2.
I don't
Right.
want it, but I would watch it.
Right, I definitely don't want it. I'm adamantly against it. I'd probably watch it still, but like a season 2 though, with what Stuart Beattie is describing, and I from the 2 interviews that I've read with Beattie, there seems to be a lot of care, a lot of forethinking, a lot of thought, a lot of care. Because we'll also discuss a little bit about what he had for Reva's character, what he had in mind for that. But a second movie. Let's talk a little bit about this second film, right? So, the main idea of the second film was how does Obi-Wan go to becoming a man that's willing to sacrifice himself? He's done playing the hero role. He's now going to be the sacrificial lamb in order for somebody else's journey to progress. My only question is, how do you make a whole movie about that?
Yeah, that literally feels like what would be a 1-episode plotline.
Now, there's some hypotheticals we could throw out here. A Obi-Wan Kenobi movie about him exploring the cosmic force, similar to him, or similar to Yoda in the Clone Wars. That would be really fascinating to me. The only problem with that is he would have to leave the planet. But I think we could do that now. You could explain that. Again, I don't love this because this is. I just don't love Kenobi leaving the planet in the first place. I understood it for Leia. That one I can get.
Well, now if you think about it, the way that the Kenobi ends is he basically ends off by telling Owen he can safely leave the planet now because now all Owen has to do is protect him because Owen and Beru proved that they were more than capable of doing it. And so that's how I see it, at least. I don't think this was a thing of like, oh, Kenobi can't leave the planet anymore because he has to protect Luke. Luke has 2 protectors.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. I still love the idea of. I still don't like him leaving the planet. But if they were to do it, I'm fine with them explaining that Beru and Owen are capable, and Kenobi's fine with leaving Luke to them.
Yeah.
At least in a case if something happens. I would love this film to have be Obi-Wan's exploration of the cosmic force. Kind of take it George's ideas of his sequel trilogy with the Wills. That would be something really fascinating to see in the second season. Him possibly... I don't remember what planet Yoda goes to where he talks to the Wills. Do you know?
Where he talks to the Wills?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's on Dagobah.
Oh, was it? No, wait. I'm talking... I know he talks to the Wills, and okay, it might have been in the cave he went into. Yeah, it might have been in the cave. But they could do something along the lines... I don't remember exactly. But where Obi-Wan is learning about the cosmic force, and through the cosmic force, he learns how to accept the fact that he's going to die, right? Some more of that foreshadowing, and more of the transition into the Alec Guinness Obi-Wan. How we would really like a second film or a second series to open up is like Ben starting to lose his physical capabilities even more. Like he's becoming more tiresome. And this is why he has to lean more into the cosmic force, lean more into the teachings of Qui-Gon. But I could see like a Phantom Menace-esque second season where it kind of harpens back on the lessons that Qui-Gon teaches Obi-Wan of the Phantom Menace. And it could kind of be that type of similar thing with also Obi-Wan going on an adventure through the cosmic force. I think that would be really interesting. I think you could make a movie about that. Now, again, there wouldn't be a main villain. That's kind of a problem. But I
can do another Inquisitor.
No, that's boring. He already defeated Vader.
I don't know, man.
So, what are your thoughts on if they were to do a second? Because there is a possibility that they could do it based on the way the show ended, right? Because Qui-Gon says, "Come on, we have a long way to go."
Yeah.
What do you think?
Um,
What would you want a second if they went with this idea? Because I think this idea is actually really compelling.
I don't know. I sent you the thumbnail for this, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
I think for me, like, I don't. I like don't want anything more. I can't think of what would have been a good story because I think we already got a good story. You
Right.
know, I think I think like when I have trouble thinking of like what could have been. Um, and so I don't know, man. I think I'm just happy we got what we got. I don't think I would have changed it for a second. As
Now, like
boring as that is.
the one thing I totally agree, but like I just love the ideas here with this second film. But the only problem is like again, the second film to me would seem kind of limited, especially since you couldn't have Vader.
Yeah.
And then like the third one would be even
Yikes.
more limited. What would the
Yeah.
third movie be about? Like the days leading up until like he
A New
accepts his
Hope.
death?
Yeah. I don't even know. I
And then
don't know, man.
also I gotta ask, what do you think about his story treatment for Riva? So he would have had Vader kill Riva. And Riva wasn't gonna know that Anakin was Vader. She was never gonna piece that together. She was actually told by Obi-Wan the truth, and that's when Riva goes and tries to sacrifice her life for Ben, and she eventually dies. Because in her mind, in Beatty's interpretation of the story, Riva was all in on getting Kenobi because she deemed the biggest villains of the galaxy the Jedi Order because they failed. Right there,
Right.
they had tried to overthrow the Republic. She bought into the propaganda. What in principle, in storyboard, remember this is just chalkboard. We never saw the execution to this.
Mhm.
What do you think about this idea compared to the concept that we got in Kenobi with Riva? What do you think? Just in concept, which one do you like better? Because we saw the execution in Kenobi, and in my opinion,
So
it's okay.
so you're asking do would I've rather gone with the what we got or what the concept was? Is that what you're
Right.
asking?
Just if you were
Okay.
to match up the concepts we got, like because we already saw how it was executed in Kenobi, but just concept wise, which one would you rather have?
Slouching. Gonna get a back hunch. I honestly think Reva should have died to Vader. I think it just would have served her story better. Like, damn, she put all that work in to kill him just to fail.
Right.
And so I think it would have, from a story aspect, would have been better. So I
Well,
would have
right, but
gone.
we also have to remember the story around that would have been different. So do you like
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Then if it was gonna be different, where where she wasn't. Oh yeah, because she didn't know in the concept. No, would have just kept it the way we had it because I like the emotional story that we have right now.
I've
As
thought
Ben's
about
out.
it for a day or so now since I first read about it. In concept, I kind of like the second one much more. Uh, because to me, it just would have made a lot more sense. It would have worked a little bit better for me. Because like it would have eliminated Riva. Because to me, again, just having her out there with her knowing like at least one of the, I mean, we disagree on the second one that she knows Luke is Vader's son.
I think again the way that I interpret that scene is he is important, or because again we have to remember when we're talking about he could mean many different people. So from a hologram perspective of like Obi-Wan would be noticeably upset if Bale or fucking Vader, Grand Inquisitor, Palpatine, so on and so forth found out about this child. And so I think it was definitely implied that the he is in reference to Darth Vader. So, but I think if we remember that, she doesn't know the exact connection, but this boy is important enough to Obi-Wan that Darth Vader cannot find out. So I think you can definitely go down the route that maybe she can piece together he's his son, but I think it's on loose threads that she doesn't or she does make the connection. Either way. So
She at least knows one of the biggest secrets in the galaxy, that Anakin is Vader.
yes. And she's somehow alive to tell the story.
Right. Which, again, it's a little problematic to me.
I think because I think also the way that I would have liked her story is for her to die at the Lars homestead when she lets go of her hate. Because then again, you have to remember that's what's keeping her alive is her hate. Because I'm telling you right now, that little cloth brown bandage isn't keeping a lightsaber wound together.
No.
And so I think that what would have been a nice, peaceful story for Reva's end is now that Obi-Wan has given her the peace of knowing that she's and essentially avenged everybody who she let die, and then she gave them peace and whatnot. I think what would have been a good ending for Reva would have been dying right there afterwards because she let go of her hate for Obi-Wan and for Vader.
That's fair. In concept, I do like what we got better, right? Because an Inquisitor, Reva becomes an Inquisitor not to hunt Jedi, not to hunt her past, but to go after
the leader.
Vader? That's way more interesting in concept. I don't love the execution of it at some points. I feel like her character's kind of stagnant. But at the end, it was really well executed, the final 2 episodes. But then I really wish that it was Vader who just ended that, because I felt like it would have come like full circle. Like she tries to do it, but it would have been a really good Vader moment too. Like Vader, somebody thinks they're gonna betray Vader, but Vader's like, "Nah, I saw you through and through the whole way." So I do like what Beatty had for an idea to end Reva's story.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the way he was presented, Reva's character as somebody who was going against the Jedi, who was hunted down Kenobi willingly, not trying to get the favor of Vader. I do like her turn. It would have worked better for me, I think, in concept and probably in execution, especially if it was a film. Just because I think it would have been easier to tell in a film, that type of story. And then also the fact that she was going to be the only Inquisitor. Only Inquisitor of this story. So we would have just focused on her instead of having the Grand Inquisitor.
The Grand Inquisitor is so funny.
Yeah, that is true.
Hello. Goodbye.
Revenge does wonders for the will to live.
For the will to live. Don't you think?
Third sister.
Hello, third sister. Goodbye. My favorite meme on TikTok is me and my bro kicking the ball into our neighbor's over the neighbor's fence for the 10th time. Hello. Goodbye.
So what is your final verdict? Would you have wanted to see this film trilogy, or are you fence-sitting? What do you think?
I like what we got more. I think, with me personally, I think a trilogy was too much. Too much. One movie, sure. But a trilogy, too much. I don't fully agree with what the original plan for Reva was. I definitely think that I like the plan that she hunted Vader and not the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So that's personally what I think. What about you, my good sir?
I think that a trilogy would have been too much. I agree with that. I think a film or a 1-season television would be perfect. I think we got the best story possible. While I think Beatty's ideas are really compelling, really interested, I have a hard time seeing how you could make 4 more hours of content.
Yeah.
Especially without Vader. I mean, I think you could make 4 more hours of content, but would it be quality 4 hours? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I would tend to agree. I think Reva's story in Kenobi, or just concept wise, is far more interesting. We just don't know how BD's story would have been executed. I will say, if it was a trilogy, it would have made $3 billion, I think, plus, because
Jeez,
each film would
yeah.
have made $1 billion probably.
Oh yeah. But then again,
Uh,
do we want to go down the path of listening to Star Wars fans complain about movies? No. Have you heard anything about Kenobi since it ended about how bad it was?
no,
No. Guess what? I can guarantee you, if this was a movie and people didn't like it, we'd still be hearing about it.
true. All right, so you got any final thoughts before we wrap the show up?
Revenge is a wonder for the will to live. Don't you think? Does wonders
S-
for the will to live.
so yeah, that's gonna do it for Wars in the Stars episode number
74.
74. Talked a little Miss Marvel, talked about Taika's film Thor: Love and
Oh,
Thunder, Taika's Star Wars film Thor: Love
oh.
and Thunder's premiere reactions.
Yes, if all of you should just go watch the Taika Waititi movie because it's my favorite thumbnail I've ever made.
The And finally, we just talked about Kenobi originally being planned to be a trilogy. We'll be back next week for a very fun episode, as it's going to be our Thor: Love and Thunder preview and a Miss Marvel episode for our
5.
5 review. So until then,
Penultimate.
may the force be with you. May you stay burdened with glorious purpose.
Goodbye.